Hello everybody! This video will be about split fins. How they actually work. So the split, how does it work? And also how the slots, or sometimes people say openings in the fins work. It seems like there is a lot of confusion on the websites, even by manufacturers and also by YouTubers, scuba divers, swimmers, who explain it in the way that to me personally doesn't make any sense. Okay, the science should be so simple and explainable that even a child could understand it. And right now I believe that there is not enough understanding about what's going on with fins overall, and also split fins, and also the slots. So let's make a simple demonstration, okay? Here I have a sour cream jar, right? So if you take a spoon into sour cream or ice cream, right? You wanna put the spoon on one side and scoop it to the other side, right? Like this. And obviously if you wanna do scientific way, you would have to measure how much cream you have displaced and so on, and also do it the other way. So let's move the cream down and let's scoop it now the other way. Okay, so I mean you can see, or I mean I can see that I'm displacing more, I'm moving more cream if I use the spoon like you would scoop ice cream, right? Because you don't scoop ice cream this way of the spoon, you scoop ice cream this way of the spoon. And also sails, you know, they have their depth, and they capture wind the same way like a spoon is capturing the cream. Fluid, air is fluid, water is fluid. This is also a fluid, it's just different density. So now let's look at this device. Have you ever thought why this thing works? It's basically spoons, right? And then if you have an airstream, that scoop captures the air, right? Captures the air, while this one is the air goes around it. So that means that like with the scoop spoon, there's a less resistance this way, there's a more resistance this way, and it does not matter if you have 3 or 2 or 4 blades in this. If there's a wind equal, these things will spin. Simple, beautiful, comprehensive. Even child should be able to understand, right? So basically, what happens with the split fins, whether it's this one that I showed you earlier or this one, when you push it to one side, look what happens. It's a shape of the scoop. And if you go this way, it's a shape of the scoop. It's like with the ice cream or sour cream, that you capture more because the water is, in this way, it's like a half spoon, right? So it's more channelized to the middle, to the center. That's why you have those ridges here on both sides. And that's why, because you don't want to, when you create the pressure, like in a sail, you don't want to air escape around. And that's why Boeing Max has the winglets, because also like with the hydrofoils, you don't want to, whether water or air escape from the high pressure area, you want it to capture it, like with the scoop. And you want to have minimum amount of leak, because it's a lost energy. So whether it is this fin, you see, it's creating a scoop. Basically scoop. And let's look at some things. So what happens to the fins? They have also rigid edges. When you press the water here, you see what happens? You have a shape, concave shape, or a scoop. When you push it the other way, you have a scoop the other way. So that's basic principle of the fins, right? And then what happens here is that because fins are split, you can have a deeper angle. And for now, don't worry about, that water escapes here. Because there are some other efficiencies that I will be talking later why it works. So the first principle is the depth of a scoop. You see? Like normal fin, like this, you apply the pressure of the water, you have a basically bigger scoop. That means more water propelled to the back. And look at these scoops, right? For the highest efficiency, those scoops are actually quite deep, and that's why this thing is so efficient and works as a wind meter. Look, I have done a lot of practical studies of the hydrofoils for wind foiling. And this is something I need to also introduce to you, because in order to understand split fins, you gotta to some extent understand the hydrofoil. So that's basically one of the most efficient race hydrofoil on the market. It's starboard Millennium 1000. And you can see, that's about 1 meter wide, and it is 1 meter wide, and it's narrow, so it means high aspect, and also it's relatively thin. I will not be taking the cover because that's not the main point here. But the thing about this hydrofoil is that it's extremely efficient. That means that with the minimum wind, I can go with the highest speeds when there is a sufficient wind. And if you want to have a complete study about hydrofoils, I will provide the link. I posted my study on the Seabreeze Australia, and I will include it. So this is basically the most efficient, the highest aspect, and the fastest. The fastest. Also, like you can say, it's the hydrofoil that loses at least amount of energy. So this is Quantum 100 slingshot hydrofoil. It's also about 1 meter, 99 centimeters, doesn't matter, 99.9 or whatever. The point is here that it has a larger surface and has lower aspect, and it's less efficient, but it's still fast. So it's sort of, not as fast like this one, but it's still highly efficient. And it has obviously more lift. So in a lower wind, you can get up on a hydrofoil earlier. And now we have a Slingshot I-99. This is one of the biggest slingshot hydrofoils, and as you see, aspect is high, it's thick, and this is optimized, so it's less efficient, but it gives you more lift at lower speed. Now, the issue with the more lift at lower speed is that then speed increases. You see, this is your angle of attack to the water, and the force on the wing is perpendicular to the surface of the wing, and it basically consists of two vectors. The vector that goes up, meaning lift, and this your induced drag is back. So basically, while in the same wind condition on the Millennium 1000, I can reach speeds of 18 miles an hour, but with this wing, I can get only like 12, 13. The middle one, it sort of end up in the middle range. There is a point that I'm bringing it so you can understand the split fins in a second. Okay, if you go to seabreeze.com.au, or if you Google for ultralight wind, 5 miles per hour or 4 knots, wind foiling buff for older heavy dudes, 90 kilograms plus and no pumping. Or you can also browse the forum in foiling for this topic. So you will find that I spent a lot of time explaining what the board, what sails, what hydrofoils work the best, and also I put there the graph that I built up over several years of a couple of thousand miles on Lake Washington wind foiling in conditions of wind 0 to 20 miles an hour, gusting to 25. Here you can find my magic graph. It basically correlates wind speed to board speed or GPS speed, watched with GPS watch. So I haven't seen anybody making anything like this. It's very hard to make it, but it takes, as I said, years of collecting data and following correlation between wind speed and GPS speeds in order to plot it. So basically, if you look at this graph, you can see that what I explained earlier, that if you look at the top, the red line, it's starboard Millennium 1000 high efficiency wing that basically allows me in similar conditions of wind, let's say on the graph here 18 miles an hour, it allows me to go to like 19 miles an hour bore speed, so going even faster than the wind speed in my gear, heavy person with heavy gear. And if you can see at 18 mile an hour wind, slingshot I-99 only goes about 13 miles an hour. So you can see that basically this is what is caused by the induced drag and the efficiency or inefficiency. The foils that have a high lift, so that the ones that are wide, I mean the chord is wide, so it's a low aspect, they basically are pretty good with a high surface for early takeoff, but then later they have an issue with speed hitting the limit, and as you can see from those graphs. So in a nutshell, you can see that starboard Millennium 1000 is very efficient. So actually slogging on the water in a buoyancy or displacement mode, you can see that it's the fastest because it's at the same wind speed, like let's say 3 miles an hour. It is small and it's efficient, so it's like the speed is higher, but at about 5 miles an hour, you can see on this graph that, for example, combination of two large hydrofoils, I-85 plus I-76, allows you to start taking board out of the water and foiling or like that, but you hit the limit of 10 miles an hour maximum speed. And that's what I also experienced with the electric trolling motors, Cadian Jetfin. So now you may think, why talking about all those aspects, right? It's about efficiency. High aspect has a high efficiency, but in order to reach the lift, you have to have a higher speed. So now, there's another, I would not call it a diversion, but you know, something that I need to explain as well. Did you ever look at the YouTube at the Mirage Drive? This is Hobie kayak Mirage Drive, and there is a YouTube video which shows one average guy pulling using this device. Is basically that's what it does, right? Look at this. There's the edge here, and it's blade here, and it's narrowing here, and that's what it does. You push it, and it basically flips the flippers up and down, up and down, at an angle, right? And guess what? If you put one average man in a kayak, with this drive, Mirage drive, and put kayak with two kayak champions pulling the other kayak the other way, this guy is gonna beat those champions. And why? It's not because he's a superhuman, it's because of the efficiency of that design. Efficiency. And also, look at this. It is relatively high aspect, right? So it's a long and narrow. Now, you've seen how this works, right? I'm pushing it like this, and the fins are flipping this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, right? So what happens if you use the split fins, right? They are like those blades, this way, that way. And guess what? Is it coincidence that this thing has a thick round edge here and narrow blade here, and it's also flexible, right? So now you know why this is so efficient. And I don't need to bring elaborate science, Bernoulli numbers, you know, laminar flow, turbulent flow. I mean, all these things. Let the scientists, let the chickens on the ground peck and, you know, argue. For you guys, eagles, who want to look at the bigger picture from above, this is the answer. This is why it's a depth of the scoop, and also, you see what happens? These are your high aspect blades that push the water efficiently. Simple, beautiful. Now, second point about split fins. You can see online that a lot of people say, oh, you know, manufacturers have come up with this stupid idea to make holes in the fins. Oh yeah, because it's a dead zone here. When the fin works, it's when the fin is flapping one way or the other, you know, it's like a drag generated and stuff. You see, my answer is totally different. Look at the profile of those. I don't know if you can see this, but you can see that if you move this flipper like this, the incisions or the slots are directed that way. That way. You have a shape here, down, and you have an incision here. And look what happens on your upkick. When you upkick, quite a lot of water gets through those things. And guess what happens to the human foot? Human foot is designed to walk on it, right? So it has a lot of strength on the downward, pushing, but has a very little strength on upside, right? Because that's you know how human foot works. And now, if you use these fins on an upkick, extra water goes through those vents and helps relieve your foot on the upkick. Does it make sense to you, right? And also there's also angle, right? So then it's easier to do this. And then when you flip the backwards, you see, the water goes here and there's a scoop. You see? There's a scoop. So when the water goes here, goes over this area, because now the pressure is on this side, goes over the slot, and pretty much minimum amount of water goes the other way. So then humans can utilize its strength on the down kick and minimize the effort on the up kick. So all that bullshit about you know, oh yeah, that's like a pressure relief both sides. I don't know why they are doing it. Like there are a lot of, you know, I mean, experienced guys who are telling you that, you know, that those splits, I mean, those slots do not make any sense. So, does it make any sense to you? If it doesn't, let me tell you something. There's a YouTube video about one very experienced scuba diver, shop owner, or maybe just employee of the scuba diving shop, who basically says, look, this is garbage. This is, this is not gonna work. But guess what? Take a fish tail, like the fish that, okay, not frozen fish, but a regular fish, and see how that fish tail operates. It basically operates the same way like this thing. Why does it matter? Okay, look, I am an average swimmer, or maybe I'm a good swimmer, but I am amateur. I've never competed, I've never trained to compete, but guess what? I put those fins on, and in 5 kilometer open water swim, so I'm not doing exactly 5 kilometers. What I'm doing with those fins, I'm swimming for 1 hour, because I think 1 hour is enough, without stopping, and I'm covering more than 2 miles or more than 3.3 kilometers. And then I decide, okay, it's time to come back. So I swim with the frog kick back and cover another 4 miles or 3.7 kilometers. So in total, I am covering 7 kilometers in those fins, and I'm not getting tired. So I am doing lazy, you can compare it to the lazy jog. I'm not running. If you compare it to the marathon runners, I'm not running, I'm jogging. I'm doing it sustainable. I could swim 5 miles in 1.5 hours. And guess what? I'm amateur, and that puts me, if I would be allowed to use those fins in the open water competition, and if you check people our US open water professionals, champions for the open water swim, out of 6 of them in 2019, with these fins, I can beat 3 out of them. So can you imagine, amateur doing his exercise can beat 3 out of 6 professionals in long distance swimming. So it's not about me, because you can look at my YouTube video how I did my swimming routine 8 years ago in 2015. At that time I was 45. Now I am 53, and guess what? I'm swimming faster, longer, no fatigue in my feet, no exhaustion, and I enjoy it. It's beautiful, it's so, empowering when you do it, and you think about it that without effort, with the lazy swim, you can swim for 1 hour and 2 miles, 3.3 kilometers and over, and not getting tired, and then use another 2 miles or 7 kilometers in total to get back. So this is all about, it's not about me being athlete, because I'm not. I never trained. It's about efficiency of those fins and understanding how it works and what it can do for you. If you now look at my GPS Garmin watch and the details about one of my swims, you can see I swam 8,263 yards in 3 hours 13 minutes and 12 seconds. Also on the map you can see the distance, and also you can see on the right hand what's 1 kilometer, so you can see that I am swimming that 3.3, even more than 3.3 kilometers one way, and then 3.3 the other way, so over 7 kilometers. And also you can see the pace recorded by the watch, and you know, average pace in time per 100 yards in strokes below. The only problem is that obviously if you swim freestyle, your hand with the GPS watch is going above the water, therefore it's accurately counted. So that's why, like, you can see that my first hour of swimming, or 1 hour 15 minutes, because 15 minutes it's a warm-up first, you can see that it's accurately being measured, but then there's a, like, you know, a gap in the strokes, and that's exactly because if you swim classical or, you know, frog, the breaststroke, then your hands are underwater, and GPS is still counting strokes sometimes, but then it's not getting GPS signal underwater. That's why, like, you see the gap, but then later when you stop, everything gets updated. So that's why, like, you know, overall count is still accurate, but you know, only for the breaststroke is you can see those gaps. Therefore, you know, it's up to you. I mean, I'm not pushing anybody, I'm not forcing, I'm not selling anything, I don't have any vested interest in anything. I just love swimming, I enjoy it, and sometimes, you know, people are puzzled, you know, how is it possible? So this is the science behind. Have a wonderful time swimming, enjoy the science, and if you like no bullshit science, science that, you know, can be understood, can be, you know, as simple as a scoop of ice cream, then you know, provide the feedback. Then I know if I need to spend my time to do more videos like this. Okay, have a great day and happy swimming. For now, bye.